that mermaid tail wreath form at the Dollar Tree and wanted to pick it up because you thought it was cute. But then you were kind of worried because you didn't really know what to do with it. I did that. I was so, when it came out, I was like, oh, that is so cute. And I walked past it and checked out. And then the next week it was still hanging there, and which is unusual at the Dollar Tree because usually everything goes like boom, magic poof, it's gone. But it was still there, and I touched it and I held on to it, and I was like, I just don't know. And I hung it back up, and I filled up my cart, and I walked away. And so I went back the next week, and they were gone. And I thought, well, it's probably for the best. What will be, you know, okay, Sarah. And so, but it just kind of nagged me. Missed opportunities. What if, could I have made something fabulous out of that? And I had looked on YouTube, and everything I seen was really juvenile and really kind of cheesy, and I was like, yeah, no, I can't put that in. I can't put that out, and I can't put that in my home. So anyway, I went into another Dollar Tree, and they had the mermaid tail, and I thought, it's $1.25. I'm gonna try it, and I'm gonna see what I can do with this mermaid tail. So I hope you like it. Mermaids are magical and mystical and wonderful, and even big girls like the mermaids. So I hope you enjoy what I came up with. So come craft with me. Dollar Tree has this gorgeous Deco mesh in their coastal section. It's the Shore Living brand. And I measure my Deco mesh against this little adhesive mat that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. And I just lay something heavy to kind of weigh down the end, and I just measure it out, and I cut the whole roll. And I just kind of do that instead of cutting and putting together. I just found it's more efficient to cut the whole roll against this mat. I pick up some chenille stems, some pipe cleaners at Dollar Tree, and I pulled out for this project all the silver and gold. I thought that would kind of blend in. You can use whatever color that you want or whatever you've got on hand, but I pulled out all the silver and gold, and then I kind of put the ends together and kind of tapped them on the table to make sure that they were all even. And then I took my little tin snips, and then I cut them. I can usually get about 3 sections out of one pipe cleaner. So you don't need one full pipe cleaner to do, you know, each row of Deco mesh. So anyway, I laid my Deco mesh down, and I just kind of rolled it like a burrito, and I wanted these sections to be long. So I rolled them in a diagonal, and I left the sections very long and pointy at the end. And then I just used a chip clip and laid that aside. And then I rolled the next little roll and kind of clipped that together. And then I rolled the next roll and leaving the points long and kind of pointy. And then I just took all 3 bundles and took my pipe cleaner, and I fastened them in the middle and kind of brought it up through the middle and gave it some really tight, twisty turns. Just a couple, 3 is all you need, and then it just kind of makes a nice little fluffy, almost a little butterfly pinwheel kind of looking bundle. After I was through with that, I thought it was time to work on my mermaid tail. I took some Waverly white chalk paint and I started at the top. I'm only going to do the top and the tail because that's the only thing that's really going to show and needs to look really good and finished. In between putting my color bundles together, I put 3 coats of the chalk paint on the top and the tail of this little mermaid tail wire wreath form. And I made sure it had some really good coverage. I let it dry in between and kind of went back to it. Otherwise, if you don't let it dry pretty good in between coats, when you go in with the sponge brush or a regular brush, it's going to pull the paint off of the wire. So I did make sure it was really good and dry in between each coat. So I will tell you that I actually had another video that I was going to put up tonight, but my girlfriend did see this, a picture of this wreath, and she said, can you please do this as a tutorial and do it slow because I want to make this. So I thought, why not? I'll just do this kind of by itself and as a tutorial. I had picked up the marine blue, the variegated, and the seafoam green, and I used 3 bundles of variegated, 3 bundles of that really pretty marine blue, and 2 bundles of the seafoam green. The marine blue I did exactly the same way as the variegated, and then on the seafoam green I did the bundles a little bit differently. I kind of just let them loosely roll, and then I kind of pulled the tails out just a little bit, and then I put them together with the chip clip because I wanted this to be a little bit smaller because I wanted it to have a little bit more depth and a little bit more dimension and a little bit different size. So I just kind of loosely rolled it and then just pulled it out. Then the same process, I put the pipe cleaner in the middle, gave it some really good twist turns, and then I had some craft fabric that I picked up at Dollar Tree. They have this in stripes and they have this in kind of a fish scale. I chose the starfish because it kind of goes with what my decor is. And so I just laid this on the back side of my mermaid tail and I started hot gluing it to the back of this mermaid tail in the pattern that I thought actually showed the starfish really the best. And so I kind of played with it a little bit and then decided where I wanted it, and then I started just hot gluing it on. It's a little bit in a roll, so I did lay my trusty tin snips there to kind of weigh it down so it wouldn't roll up on me. And I just hot glued that all around this little mermaid tail until I had it good and covered. And I thought it gave it just a little bit of a nice finished detail. I didn't want the whole thing covered in Deco mesh. I thought it gave it a quality, a decor quality was a little bit more high end. And I don't know, I love the burlap feel in the coastal design. So you can go with the fish scales, you can go with just plain burlap. I think any would be pretty, even the coastal fabric would be beautiful on this. You can just kind of pick and choose whatever goes with your decor and whatever your taste is. I put a row of this, a strip of this, along the very top of this wreath form, and you will see later it's not going to show a lot, but I did want it to have a more finished look at the top, even though it's not going to be necessarily seen. It from some directions it would be, and I did not want it to just have an unfinished look. I wanted it to have a very high quality look about it. So I put this on the top of the top row of the fish tail, the mermaid tail wreath form. And then I just took my scissors and I just started cutting around. You don't have to be really precise, and you really actually need to leave just a hair on the outside of this, because when you go to trim it out, you're going to want something for your trim to kind of hold on to and grab onto other than the wire wreath. So you don't have to just get it really good and close, but you don't want ragged edges showing either. So I just took my scissors and I just trimmed along the outside edges. I did the same thing along the top, and I do apologize. I am out of frame on some of this. This is a very awkward piece, and I was in the middle of crafting and I was in the zone, and I really wasn't paying attention to the fact that I was filming, and I was just having a good time. So once I had it trimmed off at the top and the bottom, it was time to start putting the Deco mesh pieces on the wreath form. And I started at the bottom with the seafoam green, and I just put the ends of the chenille stems around the wire, and then I just tied them, twisted them really good until they were nice and secure, and then I just kind of fold the chenille stems back over the wire so that they don't poke out, so that they're nice and flat. And I just started stacking my pretty little Deco mesh in on top of this, just one on top of it, the other. And I was just so pleased at how this came out. And I love Deco mesh. I use it now almost outside exclusively, and this is actually the first piece that I have done that I'm going to actually put inside the house for a decor piece. But it was just so fun and so whimsical and so fluffy that I don't know, I kind of fell in love with it. And I'm a grown woman, and I still think that mermaids are just kind of fun. And I was really trying hard to figure out how to make this into a more adult looking piece, because I know I have a little bit of mermaid just here and there, just a little sign that say mermaids have more fun, that kind of thing. So just a little piece tucked here and there, I never thought would, it's not going to hurt anyone. And so my bathroom is actually coastal. It started out to be Tiffany blue. We decided to start remodeling in the midst of a pandemic when you couldn't get a whole lot of things. It was not something that we decided to do. It was just something that we had to do. And so I sent my poor husband out to get paint for my bathroom, which was supposed to be Tiffany blue, and he came back with Caribbean blue, and that was all that we could get at the time. So coastal it is. Um, so anyhow, I have coastal in the front bathroom, and I actually kind of enjoy it. It's just kind of, we enjoy going to the beach, and we enjoy warm weather and salt water, and we enjoy our beach vacations. And I've picked up, a lot of things from here and there in all of our trips and cruises and this kind of thing. So, anyhow, it's just kind of become the room where we use our souvenirs. And so, anyway, I thought I would just hang this in the bathroom. And I was looking for something that was not cheesy and had a little bit more of a high end quality to it. So you're going to have to let me know if I achieved what I was trying to accomplish there. So I just started layering my deco mesh in and just twisting it as tightly as I could on the different rows and the outside edges, and just kind of, making sure that everything was nice and secure. I kind of followed the waves of the mermaid tail. So I would put one on the outside edge, and then one where the kind of wave would go up, and then one where the wave would go down. And I just kind of followed where the wreath led me, and that's where I would put a bundle of the deco mesh. And I think I actually, the bundles that I had made, I had one left of the green, 3 left of the marine blue, and 3 left of the variegated. So I didn't waste all that many, and I have just found that it's easier to cut everything, bundle everything, and then start putting it on my wreath form, instead of cut and bundle and put on. I used to do it that way, and then it just became a tiresome process, and I would just get so frustrated, and I would just have to walk away. And so then I kind of started cut, bundle, and put on, and it seemed to go so much faster, and it was a lot less stress and a lot more fun. And crafting should be fun. It should not be anything that causes you stress, grief, and worry. So anyway, you always are looking for the best way to do things, and other people may have a different way of doing things, and that's fine. But I did not actually waste too many bundles, and I didn't have a whole lot of waste, and I just kind of stuck those in my craft stash and went, I may use those for something later on, because you never know when you might need a little pinwheel bundle of deco mesh for something. So they're not really wasted if you use them and at a later date. The top part gave me just a little bit of trouble because I was trying to work underneath this burlap fabric that I had glued on, and I was trying not to pull on it, so that I would pull it off the frame and undo any work that I'd already done. So that just gave me a little bit of a fit, but that's okay. It wasn't no big, never mind. Anyway, I got it all figured out, and I didn't wreck any of my progress. And I also wasn't sure how far down I needed to cut that strip, because I wasn't sure how big of that fabric that I needed to make. And because I wanted my deco mesh to come up over it. And so I knew a lot of it wouldn't show, but I did want it to look finished. So anyway, you'll see at the end. So anyhow, I did try to show you and leave a description of how many bundles that I actually put on each rung. of the mermaid tail wreath form, so that you would get kind of an idea about how many bundles you would need to make if you were doing this project yourself. So anyway, just that top part was just a little bit tricky working around that burlap fabric. I was just a little bit, I don't know, I thought maybe I shouldn't have glued it on, but then again, what is done is done. You can learn from my mistakes and maybe do yours differently. I had some nautical rope that I bought at the Dollar Tree, and so I decided to hot glue that around the outside edge of the mermaid tail. So I kind of just pulled up my Deco mesh, ran a bead of hot glue around the outside wire, and that is why I left a little bit of the burlap fabric so it would have something a little bit extra to grab onto. And then went ahead and I did kind of trim off a few little raggedy pieces because I did not want them to show. And then I just put some of my hot glue on there and kind of hot glued that around in just a little bit at a time. So my hot glue would set up really good, and it's kind of tricky working with the metal and the rope. So you want to do it in smaller sections so it doesn't dry, and then you can just hold it on there until it, adheres really good. Because hot glue sometimes in the metal is a little tricky to work with. But anyway, I just a little piece at a time glued that around the outside edge of this mermaid tail, and to give it a nice finished edge. And I was holding up my skirt. The Deco mesh was kind of getting in the way a little bit, so I was just kind of holding it and kind of pushing it. I tried cut with scissors, but I always end up having to cut my my nautical rope with the little wire cutters, my little tin snips. I try to cut it with scissors and it just does not ever work out for me. I don't know why. I looked at it and I thought, I like it, but I think it needs something. So I took my hot glue gun and my nautical rope, and I decided to go around the outside edge again, just to give it a little bit more oomph. I don't know if you ever look at projects and you just think that it needs a little bit of something. But that's kind of the way I was here. I was like, it's cute and I like it, but it needs a little bit more something. And when I put that second row of nautical rope on it, that is exactly what I thought it needed. And it just kind of brought out all of the dimensions of the nautical rope, and it just, I don't know, it just made it stand out and look absolutely beautiful. And look at me, I'm actually cutting my nautical rope with scissors, but this is the smaller nautical rope. They have two different sizes at Dollar Tree. They have small and they have the big size, and this is the smaller size. And I did struggle at first and cut it with tin snips, and that was completely, I think I edited that out. But anyway, so I went across the top, even though you could not see this. I did go across the top, and I finished that out with some rope, and then I trimmed off the excess burlap fabric that was kind of sticking out above the rope, because I did want this to look very finished because you can see it. You can't see it, but you can see it. It's one of those, if you look at it and study it, you can see it. So I did want it to look finished and beautiful from top to bottom. And everything, you can actually cover the back if you want to cover up all those little chenille stems, but I didn't. I went ahead with my nautical rope and I just made a big loopy knot. And this is what I'm going to hang my mermaid tail with. And I had picked up the sand dollar and the starfish out of the coastal section of the Dollar Tree, which is why I went with the starfish. I knew I was going to embellish it somewhere, somehow, with the starfish. So that's why I went with the starfish fabric on the bottom of my mermaid tail. So I just embellished it with some hot glue, and then I took my rope, and once I had it measured out, I just went down the side of the inside of my mermaid tail with some hot glue, and I made sure it was nice and secure down the outside edge of the inside of my mermaid tail. And it's almost ready to hang up. And I just thought it was truly coastal and whimsical and beautiful and had a high-end look, classy look to it, and it wasn't juvenile. Although it would be cute for a teenager, it didn't have a juvenile cheap look to it, and I absolutely love it. What do you think? I hope you enjoyed my mermaid tail craft. I really enjoyed making it, and I always seem to be more pleased with things when I've had to struggle with them than when things just kind of come easy and flow. So thank you for watching my mermaid and coming along on this little journey with me. I hope that you have enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell so that you know when I've uploaded my next video, and give me a thumbs up. And thanks for watching Crafts, Laughs, and Chaos.